tackle. Furthest man forwards. He's got the skills there, Harry Ship. He's showing them. It's a really good effort. And it's game back on. That is Rookie of the Year material.
Thanks for clicking the play button. I'm James Justice. You can call me MLS Takeover, and welcome to my new YouTube channel, MLS Takeover. Now, I know you're probably wondering, James, what is this channel? What can I get out of this channel? Well, good question. Pretty much, this is something I've been wanting to do for years now. I became a fan of soccer about probably 2009. It was probably the Confederations Cup that really got me into it. It wasn't even the World Cup. And when I became a fan of MLS, it was sort of a love at first sight kind of thing. It wasn't Europe. I didn't start following the BPL until way after I followed MLS. For me, it's your local team, your local league. I watch European soccer. It's obviously the highest level out there, and I find myself, fascinated sometimes by the races out there, the top four, the Champions League. But for me, there's nothing like Major League Soccer. And I may be unique in that opinion, but I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that feel the same way. So what I want to do is I want to provide a channel where a lot of people, there's a lot of outlets that talk about Major League Soccer, that talk about U.S. men's national team soccer, but a lot of them focus on one topic. They focus on the hot topic. They focus on L.A. or New York. I am a New York fan, but they focus on those big teams, maybe a big acquisition, maybe a big topic. I might talk about stuff that isn't even a topic. I'm going to try to get from team to team and really go from Chicago to Vancouver. I want to get every single fan base involved, and that's the point of these videos. Sometimes I make it off track because I'm new to this. I'm not the best at this. I may look terrible right now on camera. I don't know, but basically I'm here because I love soccer, and I'm doing this on my free time because I really want to get a community involved, and I want to provide an outlet for soccer fans all around MLS who might feel like, well, maybe my team isn't getting enough publicity. Maybe I'm not getting the right outlet that I want. So basically what I've done in my first video, or my first set of videos, I'm going to do a best 11 for every team. So my first, I'm going to go alphabetically. So the first team is going to be the Chicago Fire. I'm going to cut to a picture that's going to show my starting 11, and then I'll go in depth about the starting 11. But basically, I just want to start out by saying Chicago is a very interesting team to do. A lot of acquisitions for Chicago this offseason. Last year was a very dull year for Chicago. They really lacked any game changers, any real electrifying players. So I'm going to just show you the starting 11 now. It starts out with Sean Johnson in goal. No surprises there. I mean, Sean Johnson is a guy who has been in that U.S. men's national team pool now, it seems like forever. Him and Bill Hamid have been there, sort of that number 3 goalkeeper, them rotating back and forth. The past couple years, though, Bill Hamid has been tremendous and has really taken over that spot. It feels like Sean Johnson has fallen off the pace a little bit. It feels like it's Sean Johnson's turn to have that tremendous breakout year that sort of puts him into that next echelon of MLS keepers, and really not even MLS keepers, but U.S. men's national team keepers. And if it's not now, then it may never come. And this may be hard words, but he's going to have an improved backline this year with Jeff Larentowicz full-time in that center-back role. Obviously, Larentowicz, a guy who played in that defensive midfield role, and now he's being shifted back last year into the center-back role, really by no harm doing of his own. A lot of times we see guys who play that defensive midfield role, maybe they go back into center-back because of the mobility, they can't take it anymore. I don't think you could say that's the case for Larentowicz. I just think it was a case of there wasn't any good defenders in that Chicago team last year that the coach really had confidence in. So Larentowicz was just the fallback guy. He came back, and a guy who really was probably the best of the bunch last year. And he's going to get a new partner this year, Eric Garrick, who was with Columbus last year. Garrick, not really a guy who, he's a very blasé guy, really nothing special about him. No one probably got excited about this acquisition for Chicago, but a guy who will probably do a job. Again, this is sort of not where the excitement is with the Chicago teams as you get further up the field. Livo Palmer at right back, another guy last year who, for me, he's a very sort of, I guess what I would say is, I just thought of this actually, but it's sort of a perfect thing. He's sort of an MLS 1.0 player, right? He's like he's got speed, but not blazing speed. He's got strength, but not unbelievable strength. His technical ability is poor, and for me, as a right back, defensively, he's not that good. But they seem to be trusting him with the position. They really didn't acquire anyone else in the outside back position outside of the left back, Jovin Jones, who to me is very exciting. Jovin Jones, a left back, Trinidad and Tobago international. For me, I always get excited now when I see CONCACAF international players coming to MLS teams. For me, it's so exciting to see all the best players from our region coming to play in MLS, because in the end, isn't that what this league is supposed to be? The best players from North America and Central America and the Caribbean coming over here and playing in some of the most glamorous cities in the continent. Isn't that what this is all about? Anyway, though, moving up the field, Matt Watson, a guy who I don't know much about, but a guy who Chicago fans are lauding, and they're saying this is a guy with a lot of potential who can play this position. This is a formation that Chicago has used a lot. I see why in the preseason, because they really don't have a lot of defensive midfielders. A 4-4-2 even, or a 4-2-3-1, to me, there's no, like, two guys who I would feel comfortable paired together in the center. But I feel like if you just had to put one lone guy who can maybe fill the role, I think Matt Watson is the guy. A guy who's young, American, can just be that clog in the midfield. Chris Ritter, left central midfield, another guy who, listen, I don't know much about him. He's, I believe he was a draft pick last year. I think, again, you can maybe put a guy like Alex in there who's been on the team for a while. But I feel like they'll put in Ritter just because the potential is there. They'll want to see what they can get from him. They already know what they can get from Alex. And they're going to probably expect him to take a big jump or they'll be in trouble. Sean Maloney at right central midfield. Again, they played him here in the preseason. I feel like it's not... a lot of people might be shocked to see Maloney in this position. For me, it's not that shocking. We see this all the time with European guys who come over and they're sort of asked to play maybe farther back from goal than they're used to, mainly due to the fact that their creativity and their technical ability can be used more in MLS because the technical ability isn't there in MLS as much as we would like it to be. So they can help advance the ball from the defense to the attack very well. And to be honest, Maloney isn't really needed in the attack also. You could really put 5 guys in those 3 spots up top. I chose David Accam, Kennedy Igboniak, and Harrison Shipp, or Harry Shipp, the homegrown player. For me, you got an electrifying player in David Accam, a Ghanaian international who they acquired, a designated player similar to Sean Maloney, and then Kennedy Igboniak, a Nigerian who also, both those guys, Accam and Igboniak, played in Scandinavian leagues. Both these guys have incredible pace, apparently, incredible, just electrifying ability. And I feel like, I don't know if you're going to have both of them on the field, but you're definitely going to have at least one of them on the field, I think, at a time. And then a Harrison Shipp on the other side at right forward. I feel like he's a guy that you're going to want to have on the field also, just because the potential he showed last year, you're going to want to see if he could take that jump in his second season, in his sophomore season. I know it's probably tough to see for Fire fans, to see Mike McGee on the bench. I'm sure if you told a Fire fan last year that Mike McGee wasn't going to be in the starting 11, I'm sure they would look at you like you had two heads. But with all the attacking talent that this Fire team has, I just don't see where, Mike McGee, maybe he fits in, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's going to play some games. There's no doubt about that. He's going to get in towards the end of the game, so he'll be the first sub off the bench. I can guarantee you that probably in this formation. But I don't know if he's going to be a full-time starter with this team right now. I don't know. And we haven't even mentioned goalie DePrado, who, again, maybe he's the first guy off the bench. A guy who played for Southampton, for crying out loud, for the past 3 seasons, I believe. So he's definitely got incredible talent as well. He's a Brazilian player with incredible skill. I don't know about the pace, but I think he does. He has a decent amount of pace. And listen, this is a guy who, again, he might even take over that spot from Mike McGee. So, I mean, it's not unlikely to say that Mike McGee might not even see the field some games, which is an incredible thing to think about, considering where this team was 2 seasons ago. And I think it just goes to show how much this team has improved this offseason. Such under-the-radar acquisitions, but such fantastic acquisitions by the Chicago Fire team. If I had to grade this offseason for Chicago, I would give it an A+. You'd almost say it's wrong of me not to give them an A+. I mean, I'm being stingy. I'll say A. The only reason I wouldn't say A+ is because the one thing that they are lacking is that, this is Chicago. this is a big market, the third biggest market in the country, the third biggest market in this league, and they still lack that sort of star power. And maybe, again, maybe I'm being too cliche. They don't need the star power. They have an incredible team this year. But, you would love to see Chicago go out and spend the big bucks and get, they were linked to Chicharito. Whether that was true or false, we don't know. It probably wasn't true. But you would love if they got that kind of player that they haven't had since Blanco. But then again, listen, the Chicago Fire team is going to be exciting to watch. I'm going to enjoy watching this team, MLS First Kick. I always feel like, I don't know if any other MLS fans do this, but when acquisitions come around and players are announced going to certain teams, if you're like me, you always look at certain teams and you're like, that's the team that I want to watch. I want to see how their home crowd welcomes them in, all these new players. I want to see how they gel on the field in the first game when the crowd is at its most ruckus and everything is, the intensity is at its highest for the beginning portion of the season at least. I love seeing that MLS First Kick when all the new players come in, and there's certain teams that you sort of dial in on, and Chicago is definitely a team that if you haven't already, I'm definitely going to be dialing in on Chicago, and they're going to be a fun team to watch this season. A couple guys I haven't mentioned, Patrick Nyarko, a guy who I remember was a sensational player for them back in 2012, but I don't know what happened these past couple seasons. The league gets better, and some guys can't really keep up, and that's something that's not talked about a lot, but it's definitely true, and maybe Nyarko is a guy like that. Who knows? I know he's dealing with an injury now, but it'll be interesting to see. Fire fans, please, I haven't really involved you guys enough in this video, but please leave your comments down below. Your starting 11s. What do you think of Patrick Nyarko? What do you think his role will be in this team if he gets healthy, when he gets healthy? What about Mike McGee? For crying out loud, your 2013 MVP, your homeboy. What do you think will happen to Mike McGee? Goalie DePrado, the interesting guy from Southampton. Do you think he'll be a starter? Do you think I'm crazy putting Akam Enik-Boniak in? And Maloney, do you think he really will play that role? I think it's probably the most ideal place for him. But what do you guys think? Chris Ritter, where does he fit in? Am I jumping the gun putting Ritter in? Should you be conservative and put in Alex? And what are your feelings on the back line? Is it good enough? Is it good enough to win? I don't want to say MLS Cup. I was going to say, I don't think the goal should be MLS Cup this year. But listen, I think Chicago will have a significant season. Please leave a like. Subscribe if you want any more content. My next team, if you don't already know, alphabetically, it's going to be the Columbus Crew. Oh my gosh. Alphabet wrong. Colorado Rapids, sorry. My next team will be Colorado, then will be Columbus, and then DC United. So please, keep up with the content. Subscribe. It'll do all the work for you. Give a like. Share this, Facebook, Twitter. Get all your friends involved. Let's make a little community, all right? This has been James Justice, MLS Takeover, signing out. Please enjoy your weekend, and hopefully you didn't have to shovel as much as I did today. It's ridiculous. Come on, it's March.